Maybe I'm having a brain fart here, or I don't know. I could go get my copy of the Constitution, but do we have freedom of choice? Like, is that a thing? Is there a bill for freedom of choice? And we have freedom of religion. We can choose religion. That's freedom of choice. Freedom to defend ourselves. Freedom of speech. We have things that defend certain freedoms of choice, but do we have freedom of choice? And why am I talking about this? Well, we're very nearly looking for, we're gonna have free energy, right? It's coming. We're not even gonna be able to avoid it. We need the philosophy, and we need the philosophy of free will. Well, luckily, I have been working on that, and I'm not saying that I'm some savior of mankind. Maybe that's just the calling I felt. I don't know, just based on my love for philosophy. It's just that we need the philosophy of free will, the paradox of free will, and that governs freedom of choice. So when it comes to like expanding the Constitution, people get afraid of that. And, it's like I say one thing I said in another video: we should change freedom of religion to freedom of imagination. Well, then I realized I was like, hold on, no. We need to add on. There you go. See, so you keep it the way it is, and then you add on to it. You use the Constitution as a derivative, and then you know how to think as such, and then you can expand those freedoms. Right? That's what our goals are. So, freedom of the imagination. That's one of them. So we don't turn the brain into the last frontier. We don't start treating it like a disease simply just because you can generate your own psychoses. That way, I mean, the idea that you can believe in this flying spaghetti monster is one of those derivatives, right? That's what people were trying to point out. Just nobody knew how to say it, it seems. And then it goes into freedom of choice. Well, what does that mean? Looking at the Canadian system, I don't know what they're doing today, per se, because I'm not gonna just go and research it, as that's just how I am. I'd rather have somebody come and correct me. That creates conversations. But the last thing I learned about was that they had, I think it was in Vancouver. Is that in Canada? It's Vancouver, right? That's in Canada. Where they are giving people free bikes. I don't even think you have to charge for them, if I remember right. Unlike the scooters that we have in town here, that you can go and you pay and you can use an electric scooter. Get their brakes fixed. It's every FedEx truck and every UPS truck. Anyway, those bikes, that's a great idea. Say we do have free energy. Colorado right now is almost pure solar for metallurgy, steel factoring. What am I saying? There's a steel factory that's almost 100% run on solar, and it can go way more advanced than that. Trust me. That's why I designed my cyclic mass generator concept. Well, generator in the concept, right? So, anyway, back to Canada. The brain's like in 30 fucking places, right? All the time. So, they give people free bikes. Awesome. That's great. Canada has to deal with harsh conditions. That's why socialism works in places like that very fundamentally. Because if you don't, your civilization can collapse. Because, all it takes is a loss of like one sort of diverse family, and those genetics, then without those mutations, other patches can become, like, for better, like incestuous and all that other shit, and devolve. And if you don't have those genetics, for the probability of superior mutations genetically just as likely as the negative ones, you can doom an entire culture and society just because they're living in harsher conditions. So everybody works together, they band together, and it's all for perceptively greater good. but you can't expand too great there. That's the thing. You can't have hundreds of millions of people living in certain harsh environments. It just hardly works. Dubai is trying to pull it off, it seems, right? But so they're giving these people their bikes, ugly bikes, terrible. I have a racing bike. Mine's fucking fast. I love this bike. It's awesome. It's a rare model, a rare bike. It's really cool. It's a lemon chambery, right? So the geometry is special. It makes me feel a thrill when I take a turn and I wade shift and I can feel the geometry and the rear end sinking into the turn and all that other stuff. That's pleasurable to me. But looking at the other bikes, they're just cruiser bikes. I'm like, don't other people want to ride a racing bike? Why can't you choose different geometries of frames? Why can't you choose different systems? Why can't you choose different? And it all goes back into that same problem of why we avoid socialism so much in the United States versus Canada, because Canada can sustain longer because their population growth is very marginal. It's not explosive. So then resources aren't at a point where they can't, increase just as much as the population and the demand and all that fancy stuff, right? So in Canada, but why then, if you can give people all these free things and you have all the resources and the materials, if you do start making, say there's like only 10 racing bikes and there's only 10 cruising bikes and so on and so forth, and then of every bike, and there's however many people, one bike per person, can they afford the choice? One day they're going to be stuck with a cruising bike. What if they want a road bike? Everybody's got to share those 10 road bikes. And that's the ultimate flaw, right, of why socialism is a problem. If we can give people free energy, though, how can we give them freedom of choice, too? Because of all those people, be it first come, first served, they are still going to get that freedom of choice. That's just one person who comes late, like Ash Ketchum, right? He's going to be stuck with Pikachu. Yeah, I used a Pokemon. It's just, I believe in free energy. Of course I do. And I believe in the artist utopian society. But, because that's the one that has the most potential. It's a theory based around infinite potential of the cognitive mind, the true world peace, free will, and self-awareness, and self-incrimination, most importantly. Or the golden rule, I suppose, has become a golden paradox. I completely forgot. Blew that off. So, if you do unto others as you'd have done unto you, that inspires people to do unto you as you have done unto them. That inspires you to do unto others as they have done unto you. What about the polarity there? What is the paradox of the golden rule? Do unto yourself before you do unto others. So, say you're going to poison somebody, right? You're going to poison yourself first. And that's the whole point of it, is this inspiration of balancing out choices of evil and choices of hypocrisy. So that in the paradox of the golden rule, I guess we'll call it that. Sounds great. That, like I said, repositioning myself. Had too much energy drink today. I'm jittery. Do unto others. Do unto yourself before you do unto others. And I wrote that because, sadly, I thought it was really depressing at the time. It's like, that's inspiring selfishness. Now, if you're at a food bank, you would take what you need and then give other people what they need. Other people in this world, though, they won't do that. They'll just go buy all the toilet paper. That's what they did when the pandemic hit. That's how great we are. We're not self-aware, and we are not self-incriminating. So I suppose the golden rule paradox is basically that, yeah. Paradox of self-incrimination and self-awareness. Anyway, there's still places to go in philosophy. There always is. It's just, what do we do when we have free energy? Okay, we're going to have free energy. It's going to happen. The only thing is that we can try our best to, one, not let it make us collapse. Two, to not oppress us, right? So freedom of choice. So I was making this video. If we can give people a free bike, can we give them the choice of a bike? I don't know. How does that go into functioning as a society and working, obviously? Because we have this huge social standard, this whole civil standard of everybody's got to work. And the way I work is my brain just never shuts off. I try my best to use it to its limits and my potential. Does that have any value? Probably not. Who cares? That's why I deleted all of my philosophy. I thought that if it was nameless, and it was out there, and the ideas were out there, and it blossomed, then it wouldn't be dictatorial. It wouldn't be. You wouldn't be able to label me or somebody else by a Boist or whatever you call them. You're like a Marxist, right? So that's why I never made those choices, and then you expand. As in my other video, where you keep expanding your paradox until you get a point where you realize that you're making a choice and you're corrupting them. Or do you design a system of making the choices to not become a corrupted paradox or a philosopher? Anyway, free energy. So the freedom of choice. What does that fucking mean? I mean, like, we could have a whole database, right? Of, you know, I go into a lot of what ifs. I'm always what if, what if, what if. I'm not saying like, this is what I want, motherfucker. Okay? I'm not. This is just, we could have a whole database, right? Freedom of information, where a car can be built by Ferrari, or you can go and build your own fucking Ferrari, because it's all built by computers in Italy anyway, right? Everything, all the Ferraris are built by computers, and that's the thing, is they're not handmade anymore. There's nothing that says Ferrari like it used to. The guy who made a Diablo in his basement. It's more Lamborghini than the Lamborghinis today. Maybe. Look at Koenigsegg, though. I mean, those are practically hand-built. They're not hand-shaped, necessarily. Got molds and things. But they are well attended to by hands, and that's awesome. It's the artist utopian dream. In my vision, I always thought that it'd be so cool, because we have a place called Maker Spaces, and prior to even encountering a makerspace, I had no idea what they were, but it's a place where you can go and just make things. It's awesome. A place where, as you travel the world, you know, every culture and all these different places, soon they start developing different things that they can make, and as you travel around, you get experience all that and make different things in different places with other different people, and it'd be brilliant. So all these maker spaces, you know, you have places where people can go and engineer things. That's what I wanted. I wanted to build a watch. I designed some escapements. That's how I was going to start my life, my career. I was going to, because I figured a handmade watch was an original escapement. Since I'm an artist, you know, maybe it'll be desirable. I can make a high profit margin and invest that elsewhere into other aspects, my other inventions and things like that. The escapements always ended up having some flaw. It just wasn't worth it. And Let's be honest, the parts, the tooling, everything is so expensive. That's why Patek Philippe's are millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because they are that badass. It is genuinely that difficult to make one of those things. So, that's the artist's dream. Everybody think independently differently, this or that. It's beautiful, but truth is, a lot of people they like being waited on. They don't like me. Nobody fucking like me. And that's fine too. But as long as you understand that the greater good is often the lesser good. What does that mean? Well, if there's only one of me and you're weeding me out, don't I become the greater good in some sense? I mean, not to out everybody else, obviously, but it's not that big of an issue to just tolerate me. And what it seems like is it's a pretty big issue to a lot of people to tolerate me. People like me for driving a little too fast, enjoying my car, using my brain and my abilities and my potential. And we're not talking about ousting the billionaires or the people that run things that actually understand how to sustain society with all their little funny equations. And the economy is just at a certain point. When you're saying if something's worth investing in that can change somebody, okay. But at what point are you deciding what that change is? And you're taking away that choice. So, try not to make this video too long. Nobody's going to watch it anyway. But that freedom of choice, it always goes back into interest. Interest in loans. Interest in fabricating value from loans. I think I made another video. I don't know if I uploaded it about why interest is destroying the economy. It's destroying stability. It's destroying everything. And it's because you're fabricating value. You are loaning money and giving yourself a 100% win stake advantage. You're saying that no matter what happens and goes wrong, I still deserve my money back. And they're not succeeding. You're not helping them succeed. Honestly, most of the time you're just hoping they fail just so you can raise your interest rates and then cause them a liability. You call them a liability. And I wrote, how to fix interest, right? So that the people who are most successful with the highest probability of success with the least risk factor should have the highest interest rates. And that allows for other people to just, if they lose for trying something, it's not a fucking death sentence. It's terrible. That's why I've never bought a patent, because it could be a death sentence for me, because I won't be able to make that money back if I'm not perfect, or say I do have a really good idea and I missed one little factor in there, like just a molecule, say, and then somebody else can design a very similar molecule and it does the same job just as well and it's just as cheap. Now all of a sudden they have the opportunity to mass produce that more efficiently and more effectively than me, and since I'm a nobody, I'm never going to get anybody on my side, right? They already have the infrastructure. Boom, you're gone. What is the American dream at that point? Why do we need to work so hard, or blame other people for making choices that they die without regrets? That's one thing I fucking hate about humanity. Is that we blame people for that. And you say you worked hard your whole life, and if that's your choice, good. I'm fucking glad. Like, don't judge me because I spent my life in my brain. Don't judge another kid because he spent it skateboarding. Don't judge, sorry that skateboarding or art, philosophy isn't necessarily as helpful to humanity as slaving away in a cornfield. It's true. It's really not. You ain't gonna save lives in Africa sitting at a desk. thinking about the paradox of free will. However, when you bring liberty to them, when you bring philosophy to them, after you bring free energy, you're going to cause self-doubt and self-awareness, the need to better. And it's going to evolve into intellect, which is the need to better. Hopefully then, people that are in these third world countries that are just all of a sudden brought up to date are not left to the same flaw that we always have. We bring people in, we give them a sword, and then they start wars. Where do you think wars come from? We start making things to better people, and they always get turned into weapons. Now, so we can make a wheel that turns things. Well, the wheel can crush things too. And it's always the same. You never think like the engineer. Everybody's diverse, so that's one of those big problems. It's just the same analogy as the flaws of democracy, and it's just shrunk down. Just no different than we have these little subsections of dictatorial mentality that are running our businesses and our communities, our states, and that. What's the flaw of democracy is that to be cognitive, you're always different, right, in thoughts. So you're understanding how to think like other people. But if you simply want and you define democracy around wants, then eventually people are wanting to make changes. Just to make changes. Just because they define their values or such. And democracy, of what was consistent before, could just be sweeping itself, kicking its foundations that set it up for that success. And then if, say, the technology collapses in the future, like mass production is utilizing too many resources, you have to take a step back to a prior moment of success so that you can reach the right choice that betters in the future. So that's kind of it. It's a preaching, I suppose. So. Am I still inspiring thought? I don't know. Does anybody really want to think anymore? Life's too damn short. Get yours and fuck everybody else, it seems. What if we do get free energy? Huh? If we are able to use solar energy effectively, and people are really going to pursue this to run just an entire metal factory. I don't know what they do if they just produce crude or ingot or whatever they do there. They are setting an example. How do we equate that in the economy based on all these other fucking factors? So much to think about, and what's the right choice? And the paradox of free will.